2010's Forgotten Sands, which was a weird movie tie-in, but not quite, with the 2010 film starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
A Swedish name, is it not?
It is a Swedish name.
So shouldn't it be like Gyllenhaal?
Oh my god!
So Ubisoft are looking to release a remake of Prince of Persia Sands of Time from 2003. We got a HD remaster in 2010, bundled with Warrior Within and Two Thrones, that made up the Sands of Time trilogy. But this is supposed to be a full-blown remake. New graphics, new recorded dialogue, the whole shebang. As stoked as I am for this game, I loved Sands of Time back in the day, and it's one of the few games I've platinumed. It would be nice to see an original Prince of Persia title, and not just a remake. We haven't had a new Prince of Persia game since 2010's Forgotten Sands, which was a weird movie tie-in, but not quite, with the 2010 film starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's pronounced Yellenhulehei.
It was set between Sands of Time and Warrior Within, which is weird because it doesn't really reference either game all that much. But the prince gets to use time powers in this game as well, so there's that. We haven't had a game unrelated to the Sands of Time games since 2008's self-titled reboot. Both stories were fairly standard. 2008's storyline was the prince getting lost in the desert and finds a mystical land where he meets Elika, a princess with magical powers. They team up to stop Elika's father, the king, from releasing Ahriman, the god of darkness. Surprise! They fail, with Ahriman corrupting the surrounding lands. They have to go to each land and purify them using Elika's powers that she gets from Ormaz, the god of light. They do this by platforming through each map using the prince's acrobatic skills and Elika's powers, all the while fighting Ahriman's lieutenants and minions. Over the course of the game, you find out Elika died before the game started, and her dad sacrificed his soul to Ahriman to bring her back. They fight Elika's dad at the end of the game again, before Elika sacrifices herself to complete the spell to get rid of the corruption. This would be the ending, but the prince decides to undo all that because he wants his lady friend back, and he does the exact same thing that Elika's dad did. She gets brought back and they leave the land with the corruption engulfing everything. That would be the ending, but they decided to have the true ending behind some DLC, which basically involves them fighting Elika's dad again, the prince saying they have a better chance with Elika alive, and Elika calling the prince a dick for causing all this. At the end, she leaves to find her fellow magical people, with the prince left alone. Sequel baiting for a game that never came out. Forgotten Sands has the prince coming to visit his brother Malik, whose kingdom is under attack. Malik's bright idea is to release Solomon's army, which decimates the kingdom, and the prince has to fix everything because he's the main character. Both the prince and Malik have two halves to the key, which release the army, needing both to put them back. They are separated and the prince finds a djinn, genie, called Razia, who gives him time powers because this is part of the Sands of Time story, as well as elemental powers, fire, ice, wind and earth. And he goes back to find Malik, to put everything back to normal. But Malik doesn't want to because he's a dick, who wants to use it to become more powerful, because he's being influenced by the main bad guy, Ratash. Malik and Ratash fight, with the prince helping his brother. Ratash appears to die, with Malik taking his powers and running off. However, Razia tells the prince that Ratash has taken over Malik's body and he needs to find a djinn sword to defeat him. The prince doesn't believe her regarding Malik, and he ends up fighting Malik and realises his body has been taken over by Ratash. He finds the djinn sword, Razia bonds with it, allowing the prince to have the power to defeat Ratash. He defeats him and he finds Malik, who tells him he'll be a great leader, and then dies. The prince then sets off on his way home. Both games had a mix of platforming, which involved wall running, swinging from beams, sliding down walls, climbing obstacles, all that good stuff. Combat involved pulling together combos, again fairly standard. 2008 had the added extra of the prince using a claw glove. This allowed him to grab rings to give him extra distance across or up things. Elika using her magic powers to allow him to navigate certain areas as well. Some powers doing it automatically, others you had to manually navigate. Also, you can't die in 2008 Prince of Persia, because Elika saves you, putting you back on the last platform you were on. This also happens in combat, where she'll knock back the enemy for you. You only fight one enemy at a time though. They were attempting something new with trying to make every enemy feel special, but in my opinion at least, it devalued every fight. Combos ranged from sword attacks, acrobatic attacks, claw attacks, and Elika attacks. You're able to string together a range of them so there's some variety, and you have them all unlocked at the start of the game, which is cool. Forgotten Sands uses the time mechanics of previous Sands of Time games, and the elemental powers which the prince uses in platforming, puzzle solving and combat. Combat involves sword combos, as well as using the elemental powers. You can upgrade the powers and combos across the game as well. My pitch for a new game isn't terribly original or anything, but I'd like to think it's at least different than what we've had before. There will be similarities to previous games and other tropes, so there's that. Okay, so I'll start off with the story. The prince is a well-known thief. A prince of thieves if you'd like. Acrobatic and a decent swordsman. Inherently nice as he'll help out those in need. Poor people, children, etc. It turns out the vizier of the land wants to take over the kingdom, because the vizier always wants to be in charge. But he needs the elemental spear, a weapon of great power created by an ancient order, able to give power of all the elements, fire, water, earth, wind, to those capable. While anyone can wield an individual power, only descendants of the order can wield all the powers at once, of which the vizier is a descendant. I know, it sounds like Avatar the Last Airbender. I did say it wasn't terribly original. The Sultan's daughter, the princess, finds out about this and wants to stop him. So she recruits the prince, saying she'll pay him to help her save the kingdom. They need to find the parts of the spear because it was broken up because it was too powerful. Again, standard trope. The vizier sends his lieutenants out to get the pieces also. Along the way you find out more about each character and their motivations. How the vizier feels maligned for being part of an ancient powerful order but not being able to rule, the princess for being put in a box for being a royal and feeling she needs to act a certain way, and the prince for being a thief because his family didn't have enough money to survive because his father died/disappeared, with some revelations to come for each character as well. Again, this is a pitch, not a full-blown story. Story is linear, with storyline upgrades happening at the appropriate time. You start off in one location, and as the story progresses, the map opens up a bit more. Arkham Asylum would probably be the best comparison. Each map allows you to roam freely with story missions and side missions. Able to start whenever, and you can go back to previous maps to try stuff you missed before, like side missions or areas that were previously inaccessible. Similar to Sly Cooper in a way. Each mission is either combat, stealth, platforming, or a combination. Story or side mission. You'll get money from each side mission, as well as from defeated enemies and from finding chests in the environment. You can use different weapons like swords, daggers, axes, big swords, and spears. Each weapon has different stats and combos. Daggers are fast but lack damage, axes/big swords are powerful but slow, spears have a good long range but poor short range, and swords are all-rounders. You can buy weapons from a merchant located in each map, as well as upgrades from them, or find them in the environment. You can use elemental powers when you get parts of the spear, using them in platforming and combat, similar to how they were in Forgotten Sands. Combat is combo based, so something similar to a spectacle fighter. You can unlock combos/techniques by buying them or finding them in the environment. Regular enemies would range from mercenaries sent by the vizier, guardians from the cities you're in, and animals like lions, tigers, giant scorpions, and spiders. Human enemies, you'd have ranged ones like archers and magic users, and melee ones like sword wielders, axe users, dagger holders, and they follow the same combat protocol as you. Dagger is really fast, axe is really powerful but slow, etc. Bosses would be uber powerful mercenaries and guardians, as well as magical mythical creatures like sphinxes and cyclopses, etc. etc. Locations would reflect the spear part they protect. There will be a port city near a river or near the sea for the water spear part, a rural city surrounded by plant life for the earth spear part, a city high up in the mountains for the air spear part, and a desert city for the fire spear part. In regards to the look of everything, I'm thinking the prince will look like a cross between Two Thrones Prince and 2008 Prince. Outfit from Two Thrones with a headscarf turban from 2008. The princess would look a lot like Elika from 2008 mixed with Razia from Forgotten Sands. The vizier would look like your standard vizier. I mean, there's not much you can really do with a vizier look. Again, I want to say this is just a pitch for a hypothetical idea for a game. I don't have an in-depth plot or anything, this is just the outline. But if Ubisoft wants to bring me on board for something, I can probably work on it. So yeah, that would be my new pitch for a new Prince of Persia game, unrelated to the Sands of Time series. What do you guys think? Good, bad, too similar to previous stuff? Let me know.